Warning, what you are about to hear is two guys talking completely unfiltered.
Cut. What are you doing? We don't do disclaimers. The show's called Totally Unprofessional for a reason.
I'll see what you did. You're wasting our intro time.
Yeah. Start the show.
All right, welcome back. We are episode
27
and counting. You gotten any solicitations for your voice in other venues yet?
Not yet. That was back in the day. When I was in high school, they had the whole like rallies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I was in the leadership class. And I was a freshman in the leadership class, and there was an older junior that was in the class as well. And most of those kids, when you're older, you take that for an easy A, right?
Yeah.
But the teacher in that particular class made you work. Like, you had to do stuff.
Nice.
And so she chose a kid to be like the MC of everything. And one day that kid got sick and wasn't there anymore. And so they had to find somebody to do it. So I took over. And from then on, every time that there was something like that going on, guess who was the speaker? So and then on top of that, us being coaches and having to talk to parents and the kids constantly, the speaking thing has become somewhat easy.
You remember hearing that story about that homeless guy that got discovered and he had radio voice, and one day he's homeless and then the next he's making, I don't even know how, they gave him some ridiculous contract because his voice.
Yeah. Is it only me that feels like I sound different hearing myself back, and then when you hear yourself on here, that like you don't sound what you think you sound like?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, people tell me I have a deeper voice, but when I hear myself talk on here when I play back, it seems a whole lot higher pitched than what people tell me.
Yeah, the couple of times I've listened back to maybe one or two of the podcasts, and I'm like, God damn, I sound like a fucking mouse. Man.
Yeah.
What the hell?
When I'm doing the editing before we put it up, I'm always like, I listen to a little bit to make sure I timed everything correctly and everything. And then I'm like, damn, that's me? Like, I can't, man.
So, did you check out the grass in the front?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Homegrown, baby.
Manuel's do-it-yourself.
Told the wife, and she had just cause to doubt me. I'd love to sit here and be pissed off about being doubted about my ability to do it. But I did have a failed attempt at some concrete in the back, and it still has to get fixed. So when I told her we priced out the grass, and gotta remember, guy wanted a little over $1,000 to do it, and I was like, you know what? I'm sure I can do this. I've done it at work, and she's like, yeah, but what if? And I'm like, I can save a lot of money. So long story short, I saved about $600-700 doing it myself, and it doesn't look too bad. Yeah. It actually came out decent. The roots are starting to take on the rolled grass already. So,
good.
I mean, hey, you know what? This is like I said, saving money is never a bad thing, right?
No, not at all.
So, like I said, though, she had just cause to doubt me. I can't hold that against her.
Speaking of saving money, the Vegas trip has been called off, unfortunately, but being made up for. Next weekend, I'll be in LA for the Dodgers Red Sox game. So,
yeah, we were contemplating that, but I got to take Janessa up to LA in a week and a half, 2 weeks. When she leaves back, she'll be driving back to Kansas with one of her friends back to school, and I'll be off 3 days that week already because of golf matches. Will start here pretty soon already.
Oh,
the 16th is our first girls golf
Good
match.
Lord, a week after school starts?
Yeah. So we had our first official practice today. So got a whole new team, revamping, reloading. I'm USC. I don't recruit. I reload.
Oh. So how much did you pay your new golfers?
I pay them in slushies.
So what did Lou get last year for winning?
She got slushy runs, man. Ironically enough, the girl that made the most chips today in the boxes was a girl who had never picked up a golf club before. So that was pretty awesome.
Right on.
Daughter of one of the councilmen is what I'm told.
Ooh.
So it's fun. It's fun to have.
So now you're getting political pull. There's something behind.
Yeah.
Louis, watch out. Mayor of Woodlake, we're working on Mayor of Dinuba over here. Watch out.
2 times the population. Twice the people, twice the corruption.
Just for the record, I want to know, did Louis listen to Friday's podcast?
You know what? He did not mention it today. I'll ask him tomorrow.
Let him know if he's going to talk shit about the podcast, he better listen to the follow-up.
He better listen just to hear what's going to be coming back at him.
That's right.
So, short week. We didn't. We had a lot. There was a lot going on this weekend, but then there wasn't really, I guess. Baseball was fairly quiet. Football, again, fairly quiet. Not a whole lot going on after we touched on it on Friday.
UFC 201.
Yeah.
A little bit of a surprising main event.
Yeah.
Tyrone Woodley, your new welterweight champion.
And neither one of us gave it to him, but we did say he could knock him out.
Yeah, we did say he had the power. And we also said, when do the Wars catch up with Robbie Lawler?
And it looked like they did. It did look like
I mean, Tyrone Woodley caught him up with that overhand right, and it was a thing of beauty. Jake Ellenberger and was it Matt Brown? I think was the guy that he fought, or Mike Brown, Matt Brown, something like that. That was another good fight. Ellenberger needed the win.
Really?
Came through and got the win. But like I said, the main event was definitely the shocker. Jumped up on it. Do you think that it's a good or a bad thing that not just as the question used to be in the women's division since Rousey was gone with the carousel, the title changes, it's a bad thing for the women's division. It's not just the women's division anymore.
No, well, they were talking about Thompson.
Wonder Boy.
Well, Wonder Boy's going to be next in line for the next title shot.
That's not
potentially.
entirely true. You didn't see what was said today, did you?
Okay, no, I hadn't seen it. I was going to say usually by Monday, from Saturday to
Tyrone
Monday,
Woodley
something else
said
comes
that
out.
after the fight that he'd be willing to take on whoever, including GSP. GSP's camp reached out and said, "We'll take it."
Well, that okay.
But now
that came out Saturday right as soon as Woodley won, though, because they were saying it doesn't really matter who wins. This is still GSP's division.
Well, the problem is the same thing that it's always been: money and sponsorship. Because for those of you who don't know, GSP George St. Pierre is sponsored by Under Armour. The UFC's sole sponsor is Reebok. That causes an issue.
Yep.
The last time when they tried to set up a fight with GSP where it was a possibility, the hang-up was the money from him losing out on the Under Armour money by wearing Reebok. So he told Reebok, "You want me to wear Reebok and lose out on my Under Armour money? You make up the money, or the UFC makes up my money in the purse."
Yeah.
They said both of them said no. He said, "Fine, I don't fight."
Wow.
So they could be at another crossroads before it's all said and done. But if it's not GSP, it'll be Josh Wonderboy Thompson. Yeah, and it should be.
And it's a universal agreement that Woodley cannot beat Thompson. Everything that I didn't read many articles, there were some. Most of them thought that Thompson would be the next title holder if Woodley took that fight right away.
Yeah, but everybody also thought that Robbie Lawler was going to beat the inexperienced Woodley.
Well, yeah, but there was an asterisk saying if Woodley catches him, this could be a lot.
Then you have an argument that you got clipped.
Yeah,
for Lawler to get another shot back at it.
Maybe he should. I'm not an opponent.
There's a third proposal that's on the table.
What's that one?
Because you know what officially ended today.
What officially ended?
Nick Diaz's suspension.
That's right.
He's officially back in the fight game. And
but is he clean?
Well, that's the thing. Is he clean? That's the $1 million question. For those of you who don't know, the last time he fought was the fight we were at. Was Anderson Silva back in January. What was that? 2000? No, it'd been 14, right?
No, it was 15. It was the beginning of last year.
Was it?
Yeah.
So it'd been 15. He got busted for marijuana on testing positive for marijuana.
Ooh, what a surprise! The Diaz was smoking.
They'll smoke weed and then go run 5 miles.
Yeah.
Don't give a shit. But he got busted, and then they tried to give him a 5-year ban. And then there was such an uproar, and there was such an issue with people saying that it's not a performance enhancer. It doesn't give you anything. So why is somebody who is stepping into the cage that's not taking something that enhances their ability getting such a brash punishment? So they cut it down to, what would that be, year and a half, whatever it was. So he's officially open. Well, that was said. He told them, "I'll fight at UFC 202 if Tyrone Woodley's got the balls."
Go figure. He's talking shit already.
Right. To the welterweight champion.
I don't know that he can compete with him, though. I'm not.
But here's the article that I read, that he's coming back to a very different game than what it was a year and a half.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, think of it this way. We went and watched that fight, and on that card, Tyrone Woodley was on that card.
Yeah.
He was on the undercard.
Mm-hmm.
So
that younger generation starting to push its way up.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to really run into issues here where if you're an OG guy, you got these new age MMA fighters coming up with a different set of skills.
Yep.
You
Have you seen the new promo video for the McGregor-Diaz fight?
Yes, I did.
Oh, man.
I saw it earlier.
It popped up on my notifications, and I was like, damn.
Yeah,
it's pretty wicked. They're doing a good job.
I'm almost afraid that this fight won't live up to it, though.
I disagree.
I don't know.
One way or another, you're going to be entertained.
You think so?
Yeah. Whether you're a Nate guy and you want to see Nate shut him up once and for all and do it again on a full camp and see how he can't touch me is what he said. Find out if that's true. Or if you're a Conor fan and you want to see Conor get the win back and get redemption against him. It's one way or another. Here's my prediction: this will not go decision.
Oh, good God, no! I can't see it going.
So,
decision.
my money's on that it's a finish. I'm gonna say, and this is this far out. We're at the beginning. We're still 3 weeks out from this fight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it finishes in the 3rd round.
Conor or Diaz?
I got Conor.
You got Conor.
And not fuck you, Louis, not because I'm a homer. For the logistics fact that now Nate has a win, and I think he's overconfident in the fact that that yes, his jiu-jitsu is legit. That like Conor, no matter how much Conor trains, he's not gonna make up 15 years of jiu-jitsu. That's not what it is. Conor's now had a taste of what it takes to fight a bigger guy. Nate, everything about Nate is a bad matchup for Conor. And he got in there and owned his ass for a round. Legitimately. It wasn't a question in that first round of whether or not Nate got him. No, Conor won that round, the first round, before he got caught in the second. So I think that he got that sample, and his training regimen is different. It's a more military-style training camp where he's actually training for Nate. He's said many times in the past that his training camps don't revolve around training for somebody, that they're just training, and that's why he's able to open up his arsenal so much during training camp. He went different this time. He learned his lesson, and we talked about how much this fight means to him and his career. I just don't see Nate being in there and taking the fight seriously enough to want it more than Conor. And I see that both of them, can Conor get caught again? Absolutely. But if Conor is smart and he's precise in using his striking and making sure that he doesn't get taken down to the ground where he can be dominated with that jiu-jitsu stuff, or if he just outright plays it right like he did in the first round. He kept his distance as much as he could. He ate a few shots, but he kept his distance as much as he could. He got in and out. Now, does that mean he's going to knock Nate out? No, but he's going to damage the fuck out of Nate and wear Nate down. And that's where you're going to see a difference. The Diaz brothers have always been strong, and Nate's a hard fucking guy to finish. I have no doubt about that. But there's no reason, in my mind, why Nate has any reason to want this fight so bad. Why? Because of the payday? He's already getting a second one. A title shot? He's already said he doesn't give a shit about a title shot. That that's not what's important to him. And he, to be fair, he has the confidence of beating Conor on 11 days' notice. So what's a whole fucking 4 months it's been since the last fight?
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that guy's not overconfident coming in?
Might be a little bit.
You know?
Be interesting to see. I'm going to call it's probably going to be quick. I think second round Diaz.
You got second round
I think
again?
second round Diaz.
Same way?
Again. Probably. I think Diaz is going to eat some shots, and I think he's going to say, no, I need to get this to the ground. I need to get it to the ground now.
He'll get tired of getting hit.
I agree. Conor training specifically for Diaz will change it. It will change what Conor's willing to do and not willing to do. He's going to have a better understanding of what he can and can't get away with. Having said that, Diaz has more backlog of experience. He's going to know, okay, you know what? I can't fight this fight with this guy because I'm not going to beat him. I got to get it to the ground. And again, once it gets to the ground, you're not going to make up that time on Diaz. His jiu-jitsu is that good. There's no question. Nobody will say, well, is he really? We know the Diaz brothers have the jiu-jitsu background. That's where if the fight gets there, I can't see Conor getting out of it. It's just, there's no way for him.
Right.
But, hey, that's why they get into the ring.
Did you see Khabib Nurmagomedov
I did not.
talking shit about Eddie Alvarez?
Really?
Yeah. Your lightweight champion, Eddie Alvarez, said that he was willing to take on whoever, and that he, like we said, he made fun of Conor and stuff. Well, Khabib decided to take to social media and said that, who is Eddie Alvarez? That Eddie Alvarez hasn't beat anybody. And by him, I guess Eddie Alvarez made a comment in an interview or something about Khabib not fighting top guys and stuff. And he listed all the people that were ranked when he fought. And then turned around and said, Eddie Alvarez got his ass kicked right out the gate by Cowboy Cerrone. And he goes, did he beat Rafael Dos Anjos? Absolutely. There's no question. But split decision, unanimous decision, and there was something else. It was another decision or something that he barely won. And he's like, and that guy's your champion. So Khabib's got an argument for a title fight. Wow. The only reason why he didn't take the fight in the first place was because of Ramadan. He didn't want to do that during training because he would be too weak. Yeah. Because for those of you who don't know, that means that you don't eat from sun up to sundown. And you can like feast like crazy once the sun goes down. But that's not adequate for training.
Yeah.
So
no, definitely not. Well, so that should be an interesting couple of weeks to see what materializes out.
There'll be more press conferences to
Yeah.
come, all that good stuff. I'm
Now
sure there'll be sound bites.
It's like 2 weeks out where they really get heavy with the press conferences, right?
The week of,
week of.
yeah, it's
Okay.
fight week that they get heavy with them.
Yeah, well, that's where Conor had his complaint was that he lost out on time for training for that. So
I think it was
It's,
if you look at it all in all, and he wins, if he wins this fight, he looks like the smart guy.
yeah, definitely.
If he loses the fight, then you go, what the fuck were you doing? It didn't matter in the first place.
Yeah,
But if he wins this fight, he looks that much smarter.
yeah, and they'll probably make a couple of changes.
I don't know if they're gonna make changes with
No.
Dana. As long as Dana White's in charge, I don't think that's gonna change.
Hmm.
But if you notice, this whole thing they've built around promo
Yes.
videos. They haven't had them in front of the camera yet.
Yeah.
They haven't had that, which I'm sure will be, like you said, ramped up over the next couple weeks. Well, they'll do Fox Sports on Fox Sports 1. They'll do MMA tonight. They'll do all that shit. I'm sure. I have no doubt. But what builds this fight is not them being at every press conference for the fight coming up and being in the crowd for this one. Neither one of them were in Atlanta last Saturday night.
Yeah, I noticed that.
You know, and you're selling that as the next big fight. That card overall is going to be pretty strong.
Yeah.
So Rick Story and Cowboy Cerrone are on that card. That card I believe that got moved to the co-main event because Damian Maia and Carlos Condit got pushed to another card, to a fight night card.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they became the main event of a fight night card. So it makes a difference.
So McGregor's countryman Carl Frampton had a boxing match on Friday night.
Oh,
Was the super bantamweight unified champion at 122. Decides to step up and forego a match with Rigondeaux, who's Guillermo Rigondeaux, a Cuban fighter, undefeated but real sloppy, not real fun to watch. Passed him up, decided to jump up to featherweight, I believe it is, and fought Leo Santa Cruz. And it was a good fight. At the end of the fight, I was you listen to the scorecards as they went all 12 rounds. I didn't like the score on two of the cards. One of them scored it a draw, which you could see it. I mean,
was that fair?
Depending on how you're scoring it, yes, a draw was fair. But one judge had it 116-112, the other one had it 117-111. And the reason I have a problem with those scores is because I didn't feel like Santa Cruz lost that kind of decision. But then when you go back and you watch it, and boxing matches in general, if it was a good fight, I'd like to go back and score it 2 or 3 times just to see if, maybe when the judges are that far off, I want to see where I was that far off, because generally I'm usually pretty close with the judges. I'm real good at scoring us. But I'll tell you what, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, they could have gone either way.
Yeah.
And I could see each judge going, okay, Frampton has these 4, maybe Santa Cruz got 1. I could see that happening. So 116, 112, 117, 111 were not good scores, but they were justifiable based on they were that close of rounds. But start to finish, it was a good fight. Each fighter got the other one a couple times. They backed each other off with good, strong right hands. Frampton's just a little bit better of a I don't want to say a brawler, but more of like a muscly fighter. So he fights more in a box. So when they're in tight, he lands more punches. Santa Cruz a little lankier. He's got to work his jab a little bit more. When he doesn't work his jab, he gets hit. And he got caught a couple of times by Frampton's little check left hook and an uppercut. And Santa Cruz never really came up with an answer for it. And Santa Cruz is a great fighter, and Frampton's probably just stepping through on his way to 130 pounds. So there's a good chance that Santa Cruz may get a belt back. Santa Cruz was undefeated, and so was Frampton. So this was actually a pretty good fight. It was on Showtime
Okay.
on Saturday night.
ESPN quoted as Frampton better than most people thought.
Yeah, well, you know what? And here's the deal. Everybody forgets this guy was a unified champion at the division before. And a lot of times, the only time you'll get a title fight when it's your first fight in a new division is if you were your unified champion or you had strong showings as a champion in the lower weight division. A lot of times they don't like to because there's such a disparity between the two. But 4 pounds, all the world. It's a difference between cutting from 135 to 122 to 126 all of a sudden.
Things to note from the fight from ESPN, and I quote, maybe moving up from junior featherweight to featherweight had something to do with it. Frampton said making 122 pounds was killing him.
Yeah.
Followed by, then there's Santa Cruz's walk-in style, which makes him relatively easily to target.
And he comes through. Again, when Santa Cruz comes through and he's not jabbing, it leaves him open. And Frampton really exploited that. He really, really did.
It said, well, let's see, boxing the way it's supposed to be, a raw display of humanity's indomitable spirit.
Yeah, these two guys were going at each other. Rounds 4 through 10. Best 6-round fight, 7-round fight in a while. It gave boxing a little bit of prestige back. It's why we watch boxing. But this Guillermo Rigondeaux, he wants to fight Frampton. And here's what's funny. I was reading a quote, and I want to say it was on SB Nation. And they're asking Frampton, Rigondeaux's calling you out. Why are you not wanting to fight Rigondeaux? He said, look, I'm 29 years old, all right? And I'm not going to sit here and talk about wanting to fight the best. This is my career, and I know I don't have many years left on the back end of this. So I want to make some money. That's what I'm here to do, is make money. And I made a lot of money fighting Santa Cruz. I wasn't going to make very much fighting somebody like Guillermo Moreno because the guy's not an appealing boxer. His style is not good for TV. He goes, could I have beat him? I believe so. Would it have been a good fight? No, it would have been ugly. And what would that have done for me after that fight? Then it takes away some of my credibility, and I can't make the kind of money to take care of my family. Kudos to him. He never once said, I want to fight the best fighters that are out there. He said, I'm here to make some money. He's 30-0, 29-0, something like that. The guy knows he's probably got 5-6 fights before he probably loses his first, at which case he'll start taking second-level fights for hundreds of thousands instead of millions.
Yeah.
So the guy knows his window of making money is smaller. You're not going to take a step back and fight a fighter who's going to turn an ugly fight. Can Rigondeaux beat Frampton? Yes. Okay? Because he fights a real ugly defensive and counter-punching fight. And not those real eerily reminiscent of Floyd Mayweather.
I don't remember that we talked about it on here, but I watched 2 weeks ago. We watched Deontay Wilder and Chris Arreola.
Yeah, that was on ESPN.
That fight just wasn't even fun to watch. I mean, Wilder is 6'7"?
Yeah.
I mean, his reach on it, and then you look at Arreola, Chris Arreola. They were like, "Oh, this guy is actually decent." The dude walked in there with man titties.
Yeah. This guy, Chris Arreola, in his prime. I don't want to even say in his prime. When he fought Vitaly Klitschko, was he fought and lost to. He went in there and gave Klitschko a run for his money for a couple of rounds. He was aggressive. He could take a little bit of a punch, but the Klitschkos were just on another planet for a few years. Arreola was good, but he was never that elite class.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Arreola was a fitting name watching him take his robe off.
Well, and like as he's gotten older, he's
How
had
old
to
is
take
he?
more fights.
I didn't bother
He's
to see
my
him.
age. He's like 36,
Okay, so he's in
37.
late 30s.
He's not that old.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen heavyweights fight in their 40s and not Holyfield, Foreman. These guys, you can fight that old if you want, but unfortunately in the heavyweight division, nobody's
Wilder
really...
made a joke out of it, dancing around.
And here's
Like
the
holding
thing.
his head down and dancing.
Wilder's talking about wanting to fight some of the champions, and it's like, okay, dude, you couldn't get Chris.
And he had to have like
there.
surgery. He broke his hand.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was interesting, maybe you can explain this to me, and I've seen this in MMA a lot, but obviously when you have a cut, they put Vaseline to help clog it up and stop it. And they put Vaseline on beforehand to help the skin be looser and more relaxed so it's not more likely to be cut.
Yeah.
Understandable. Now in MMA, if you put Vaseline on more than your face or anything like that, there's a penalty for that. Just like in baseball, if you were to use like stickum in football or in baseball, they literally like caked this shit on Wilder's face, and it looked like a monkey fucked his face.
Yeah.
Like every round, there was a dude with a towel, wiped it all off, and then they caked the shit right back on him. And when you watch Arreola's corner, they never did the same thing.
No, because the guy, back when he was younger, I've heard that guy, his sweat is actually like a real good, I don't want to say a moisturizer, but it's slick enough to where what they use it for in boxing more is not just a clot, but when you hit, those gloves, they slide more than the MMA gloves do.
Right.
That's why MMA, it's the same guy putting it on as they're coming through and taking it off. They're real specific about how much they let them use it up. Which is why I think, and I know the gloves has something to do with it, but it's why I think you see more knockouts in MMA than you do in boxing, because you're not hitting the Vaseline as much. I've seen refs stop fights and have them take some of the Vaseline off, but by and far, like if you get guys with those real bushy eyebrows, you'll get some cake in there, and the glove will hit, and you won't get a clean shot on them.
See, but I think that hurts the sport on the whole.
Like if you're paying attention to it, yes.
But I think that if you're, especially now in this day and age with MMA becoming bigger and bigger. Boxing has gone down over the last few years just for lack of stars and lack of good fights.
Yeah.
That like if you're watching it now, like that is a detail you pay attention to. Like there's not many casual fans anymore.
No.
Just
no,
because
that's-
I mean you might catch I'm watching because it's Canelo, or I'm watching,
Yeah.
because it's so and so. But I mean there's not it's Timothy Bradley. I used to watch him for a while. Shit like that. But overall, if you're watching the sport now, it's because you pay attention to the details, and that's
Yeah.
a big one.
Yes, it is, and it's been around. They've been doing that for so long. I can't even think of the last time I saw someone not have a serious caked amount of Vaseline on his face, especially around the eyebrow area, because they seem to
But
cut more.
I mean, I just don't understand that, like, why you would put so much, knowing what that does. Like, if you're a athletic commission that's sanctioning boxing, why do you not have a limit or an amount on there, the way you do with MMA?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
I
man.
mean, I'm not saying I want to see more blood. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're watching guys slip, it is far more exciting to watch a guy get dropped than it is to watch, especially in a boxing match. Because even though they're 3 minute rounds, 15 rounds is a long fucking time.
well, 12. Yeah.
Well, 12 to 15, depending on like the older fights used to be longer.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, I'd much rather be down to watch 3 to 5-minute rounds where hey, there's a real possibility this motherfucker gets caught.
Yeah.
Versus let me sit here for 12 rounds that aren't very long because they're short bursts.
Yeah.
And then the action isn't always there because it's such a
Yeah.
short round.
Which is why Rigondeaux is not a popular fighter. The guy just literally runs and counterpunches for 12 rounds, and he'll do it and say, I'm the best. Well, you're a good defensive fighter and a counterpuncher. If you don't have somebody coming at you, it's a boring fight.
Oh, yeah.
They can be real terrible to watch sometimes. But, yeah, so Frampton, he's got a belt now. Yeah. He's got a belt at 126. He'll probably take 2 or 3 more there and then jump his way up to 130.
Well, see, that's what's crazy about this. People don't think about this in the bigger picture. The quote was that it kills him to make 122. And you're sitting here saying that he's got a belt at 126 and probably taking a few more fights. People go, what's 4 pounds? What difference is 4 pounds? That's not a lot.
All the world.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And people don't take that into account, that for these boxing guys and these MMA guys, I think it's worse because you exert more energy in the wrestling and the grappling.
Yeah.
That a lot of these guys, boxers included, are cutting 20, 30 pounds to get down into that weight class.
Yeah.
So I mean it's an interesting dynamic to think about like that, and how people discredit. Oh, it's only 4 pounds. 4 pounds is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, you're looking at guys, okay, like Mayweather. When I first started watching Mayweather, he was a 130-pounder. This guy's fighting at 147 now.
Yeah.
Catchweight's 151. Pacquiao was actually a strawweight champion. You know what strawweight is?
115.
Okay. So
Well, in MMA it's 150.
it was 103 in boxing. This guy's fought.
You know what that
upwards
is
of-
in MMA?
What's that?
That's women's atom weight at 105. That's the closest you get in MMA.
Yeah, so Pacquiao used to be a strawweight, way down there. This guy's fought upwards of 147, 154. And he's had a title at every division
level.
going through. Saw his first major fight at 122. I mean, just amazing how these guys can find homes at different. And this is one of the few guys who's kept his power all the way through. So. Frampton, congratulations. Santa Cruz is not done. We're definitely going to see him again.
Well, it said on there that it was a smart idea for him to take this fight because it gave him a lot of options coming out of the fight.
It did. I mean, he can go up. He can go down. I think if he stayed put, Frampton's just going through. The whole problem, though, is Rigondeaux, at some point, he's going to have to cross him. And that, like I said, that's going to be an ugly fight no matter who he fights. And not because of the fighter, but because of Rigondeaux and what kind of fighter he is. So, another interesting one on that card, Mikey Garcia. You ever heard that name before?
No.
This guy is 32-0. Okay, he was 31-0 2.5 years ago. All right, this guy was on the top of the pound per pound list, listed right there with Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. You had Crawford up there. You had Bradley. You had a bunch of names up there. Mikey Garcia was up there in those names. 2.5 years ago, he has a dispute with his promoter, Top Rank, Bob Arum. Notorious for that. Always disputes.
Top rank, girls. Top rank. We were there.
So instead of letting Top Rank and Arum get the best of him, he decides to fight Arum. 2.5 years it took for him to be able to get back in the ring once the
Contractual stuff?
Yes, once Top Rank finally walked away. Now, I read a real interesting article on this because I was curious on. I remember about 4 or 5 months ago, I was talking to a guy at work who's really in the box, and I go, "Hey, what happened to Mikey Garcia? Where is he at? He didn't lose." He said, "The articles I'm reading is there's some kind of contract dispute." So when I saw his name get mentioned to be on this undercard, I was like, "Oh, cool, he's finally back." Well, he's not with Top Rank anymore. He doesn't have a contract with anybody. Showtime agreed to get him for one fight, but this guy basically what happened was he won a belt. I don't remember what division it was, but he won a belt, and there was an assumption by Top Rank that because he won the belt, he was automatically extended. Nothing actually in the contract that said that, but he was automatically. Top Rank said he was automatically extended because he won a belt. He had to fight a couple more fights for them. Well, Garcia says, "Wait a minute, I'm a champion. I'm worth more money than if I'm a champion. You can't just extend me on this peanuts you're paying me." Now, I don't know if it was peanuts because there was no mention of money, but this is an instance where the fighter, and a lot like Conor, I'm worth more than this.
Right.
Okay? You're going to pay me more than this or I'm not going to fight. Well, Top Rank says, "You will fight because it's in your contract." Garcia says, "Show me where it's in my contract." So the dispute starts. So much to the fact where Garcia got a lawyer and said, "No, I'm not going to fight for you ever again. If I have to wait 2 years, I'll wait 2 years." And the lawyer told him, "Hey, this could take a while."
Right.
Well, this guy's potentially missed out on, they fight twice. Let's say they fight twice a year. He's missed out on 4 fights where he was easily going to be making, $500,000 to $1 million a fight. And then if he's got a big fight, you could be talking $5 to $10 million. So he misses 2.5 years, makes his return the end of the night. Looked rusty for comparison to his old self, but still elite. This guy, I'm telling you, within the next year and a half, this guy will be at the top of the pound for pound rankings. This guy was one of the purest boxers that we were watching 2.5 years ago. He does not look to have lost a step. He beat a kid named Rojas, who was a champion before, and he really made him look like he wasn't even a contender, which is what Garcia was doing when he stopped fighting. This guy has got all the tools. He's defensive minded. He knows when to press. He knows when to counter. He's got a finishing skills. He doesn't overkill when he's going in for a finish. This guy is the total package, He's out of Oxnard, same place where my boy Fernando Vargas is out of. So, good gym down there. The guy, I'm telling you, the guy is legit. He is a legit fighter, and he is definitely going to be making noise in a couple of divisions over the next couple of years. I don't know exactly where he's going to wind up. I want to say probably 135, 140, but again, that'll be up to him. He's got some promoter issues to sort out now. I'm willing to bet De La Hoya's on the phone trying to get him to meet. You probably got, I'm trying to think of another, Don King's got to be throwing his name in that hat. You got HBO might want to sign him. Showtime might want to sign him. There's always going to be promoters chasing good fighters, especially somebody like Garcia. Garcia's got 10 fights in him before he probably comes close to losing one. That's how good the kid is. So definitely a name to watch out for. But I thought it was interesting to read on his promoter files because that happens a lot to boxers where they sign something where young fighter, anxious, wants to get promoted, and then he maybe progresses a little faster than he thought. And now he's a champion, but he's fighting for the peanuts that he signed when he was 5-0 or maybe 8-0. Now the guys are 20, 25-0, and he's got a belt, but he's still making like he was 5-8-0.
Right.
So, and a lot of these,
just like these athletes that are in football, basketball, that are on their rookie deal still.
Yeah. So I'm glad he was able to get released. And then there's a dispute. It's not stopping him from fighting, but there's a dispute. Top Rank is saying, "Yeah, we just realized that we didn't have it, so we agreed to let him go minus this." And Garcia's lawyer saying, "No, that's not what happened. There was a judgment issued against you, and rather than look bad in front of all of the fighters, to save face, you released him so that you wouldn't have to pay him or anything like that." So it's funny because they're going back and forth. Aram's not known to back down, and he's going to try to bash Garcia all he can. But De La Hoya picks up Garcia. De La Hoya will take care of him. Golden Boy Promotions is real good for taking care of most of their fighters, Canelo's their baby right now. They need another one. You don't know how much longer Canelo's going to go. He fights hard, so might be on a limited timetable, might not. But still, you never know. Garcia would be someone good to have in the stable of fighters that Golden Boy does have. So, outside boxing, that was it. Terrence Crawford did fight this weekend. To me, he looks ridiculous. I don't think that guy is an elite fighter. He's more of a showy fighter. When he fights someone good, I think he's going to get his ass whooped.
He'll get exposed.
He's going to get exposed for being a clown. He doesn't look like he can take it serious, and he hasn't shown any raw skill against guys that he should be showing raw skill. He's strong as hell, don't get me wrong, but that's about where it stops, it seems. You know, he hasn't been able to finish fighters that he needs to finish when he needs to finish them.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to screw around and take them into late rounds. Sorry, buddy, somebody's going to knock your ass out, and all everybody's going to say is, I told you so. So
Can't let people hang around. That's how you get caught.
Yeah. Other sporting news we got. I don't know if you saw any. Jimmy Walker won the PGA Championship yesterday.
did.
Did you see the end of that?
No, I didn't see the end of it, but I saw the highlight of him, winning the whole thing, and I was like, hey, there's a name.
So when we were doing our fantasy picks on DraftKings for this on Tuesday, Wednesday, did I tell you that Louis fucked up?
Yeah,
okay.
we talked about that on the episode 26.
Turns out we would have won about $180 or something like that if he would have put.
Hey,
it
money's
in.
money.
Money's money. I
See what
agree.
you did, Louis?
It cost me my steak sandwiches for the next couple of weeks, so that's
Hey,
really
man.
good, man. Don't hate the player, hate the steak. What's up, bro? Come on, huh?
Jeez.
So
You don't mess with a man's meat.
well, I don't know. I heard Louis.
Oh. I smell scandal.
So when I turned it on Saturday, Walker was still in the lead. They had some rain delays, so Sunday morning they had to finish their third round, and Walker and his playing partner finished, and then they had to tee back off. I think it was like 7 hours later, if I remember, like 6 or 7 hours. So he teed off like around 1. He finished like at 8 and then started at like 1 again.
Dang.
And the significance of that is that generally in a PGA match, you have Thursday and Friday where you're grouped, okay? And then they do a cut. So they back off. About half the field is generally cut. It's down to like, I want to say like 60 golfers, maybe 50, depending on how big the field was. So they cut it down, and then you're grouped according to score.
Right.
So like Saturday, the top 3 guys are together. They're in groups of 3. On Sunday, it's pairings. So there's 2 guys in a group. So your first and second guy are generally playing together.
Right.
Well, because there was a weather delay and they were finishing rounds from Saturday, they didn't regroup everybody. So now you got Jimmy Walker playing with the guy he was playing with on Saturday. I don't remember who it was, but not the leader. It's the leader with someone who's like in 5th or something like that, or 6th. Jason Day, who was 1 shot back, was in the group before him. So the top, first and second place are not playing with each other, and they basically went back and forth. We talked a couple of weeks ago about Dustin Johnson winning the Open and how he stayed. Or no, it was the U.S. Open that he won, and we were talking about how he stayed calm and how he finally seemed to mentally have it together and be able to carry it out. Jimmy Walker, Saturday and Sunday, for being, I don't want to say he's never been in this position, but he had the lead, and he was fighting off Jason Day, who's regarded as one of the better young golfers right now. He fought Jason Day off for 2 days and didn't flinch. Not something real common for.
How relevant do you feel that pairing is to play with the 2 if you're the one going through the weekend?
I think it has some bearing, but again,
is it a level of competition thing that like you feel like if you play with somebody? I'm not saying that the person you're playing with is not equal to you as far as skill, but when you're playing against somebody or playing with somebody pairing wise that you're watching and you're watching them fall apart or drop back, does that influence you?
Yes. And
whereas if somebody's pushing you and they're continuing to do better, like hit birdies and make par and stuff like that, does that ultimately force you to either put you in that spot of here's the pressure cooker if you step up or you fall back?
Yeah, you might have to start trying different things. You might have to go for a green you wouldn't normally go for. And here's where I want to say the significance of it came. Jason Day's playing with someone who's not close to him. So these guys are in 2 separate groups. And like I said, Jimmy Walker stayed calm. There's leaderboards, and I'm sure he can hear the talk in the gallery and everybody, saying, Jason Day's doing this. He stayed calm. You were asking me if it has any bearing on it. It most definitely does. If Jason Day and Jimmy Walker are playing next to each other, and Jimmy's watching Jason struggle, because Jason struggled every now and again, hole here, hole there, he hit a bogey here and a bogey there. There's also the point of the 18th hole. Jason Day's group's in front of Jimmy Walker's. Jason Day hits a great drive. Then he hits a phenomenal 2-iron from 260 yards, I think it was. He had 8 foot for eagle. Okay. Jimmy Walker, if he's playing with Jason Day, he knows he's got a 3-shot lead at that point. I think there's a little bit more pressure on Jimmy, and I'd love to say that Jimmy probably can handle it based on the way he was playing, but you don't know. You don't know. So there's no way to say yes he would have or no he wouldn't have, but there is a question mark there. Would he have been able to? You know, that's a lot of pressure. I've been in that situation. When we were in Vegas that one time, I was on the 18th hole. I had a one-shot lead, and I make bogey on 18. The guy's got a 10-foot putt for birdie. Leaves it 2 feet short. That's like, oh, damn, he's going to make par, and we're going to go into a playoff. It's a 2-foot putt. Yes, we're amateurs. Yes, we miss those kinds of putts. But I'll tell you what, straight up, straight line, no break, uphill, doesn't get much easier than that. The guy pulls the putt, you know. And he pulled it because I had just made my 6-foot bogey. So there was pressure on him to make that par. Does Jimmy do it? Based on the way he was playing, I believe he would have. But holy cow, I mean, what a difference that pairing makes when you're not together, when you're not paired with the guy that you're chasing or the guy that is chasing you. That is a different. There was Y.E. Yang won a PGA championship years back. I don't remember exactly what year it was. He had Tiger Woods with him, okay? And they went into the final pairing, and one of the things was Tiger Woods had never lost a major while being in the lead. Well, Yang ran him down and held him off. And that had never happened before. And a lot of people said, well, man, that's unusual because Tiger, yeah, you know who Tiger is and you knew what Tiger was capable of. But we like to say that Yang just didn't know better. He was like, Tiger who?
Yeah.
And then when he realized what had happened, he was like, wow, I just beat Tiger Woods. I think that was a lot of Jimmy Walker yesterday, you know. Congrats to the guy. He's my age, 38. It means it's still reachable, you know. 38-year-old
Well,
professional.
you know what Yang was missing?
The Yang?
That's right. So you do know.
So, so Walker, he had, you know, phenomenal 4 rounds. He played 4 rounds of great golf. There's not any way to, I don't want to discount his victory in any way. He pretty much held the lead from start to finish. You know, not a dark horse by any means, but hey, when it's raining and you can play in the rain, we saw Mickelson do it a couple of weeks ago at the PGA or at the Open Championship. If you can manage the elements, you have an edge because you'd be surprised how many people cannot play in rain or wet conditions or when it's really, really hot. Some guys just struggle with it. Jimmy did not struggle with it this week. Ironically, Mickelson did struggle a little bit with it, and that's kind of weird considering the Open 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, he had a pretty good round. So Stenson was another one. He was right there, and that after winning the Open Championship a couple weeks ago. So it was fun to watch the finish. Like I said, so Walker has a 2-shot lead on Jason Day going into 17. Okay, so Day tees off on 18, right down the fairway. Walker tees off on 17. Now, these are both par 5s, okay? Walker hits a layup shot to like 80-something yards on 17. Day hits a bomb 2-iron to 8 feet for eagle on 18. These are simultaneously going on, okay? If Walker makes this birdie, he's got a 3-shot lead. So even if Day makes the eagle, he's still got a 1-shot lead.
Right.
Right as Walker's lining up for his birdie putt, Day makes his eagle putt, and the crowd goes nuts. Now, mind you, these are golf courses where it's generally quiet right before your shot. So when someone does something like that and it's just on the next hole, it's loud. So he knew something was going on.
Right.
He steps up and makes that birdie. That birdie went 3/4 of the way around the cup and then dropped in.
Oh.
No, it dropped in. He hit it, but it went 3/4 of the way around the cup and then dropped in. And he's like, he knew at that point, I think, that he was going to be able to pull it off. He goes over to 18 with a 1-shot lead. All he's got to do is make par, short par 5, hits a beautiful drive. Took a questionable second shot. He didn't have to go for it. Pulled out his wood, went for the green, missed it left.
Pulled out his wood, huh?
Pulled out his wood. So he goes for the green in 2, misses it left, winds up in the rough. Wet rough. I'm going to tell you what.
Pulled out his wood in the wet.
In the wet. And ended up wet.
In a wet patch, he pulled out his wood. We got it.
So he...
now I know why you like golf so
that's
much.
Right,
I get
that's
it.
right.
I get it.
Pulls out a wedge and hits a great shot. He's got plenty of green to work with. Make sure he gets it on the green in 2 putts. About as standard a par 5 as you can play it right there, you know. So like I said, good clutch delivery from him. You won't see that very often from guys who don't have that limelight very often. But this opened doors for that young man. Yeah, young man. He's 38. He's my age. We are young. But opens
Keep
doors.
telling yourself that.
Opens doors for him that he didn't have open before. it was good to see those kinds of guys, those Iron Men. They're not always in the limelight. They kind of truck along. They finish top 10s, top 20s. They're on the money list. They get their cards year in and year out. They grind. It's good to see those guys win those. Wins. Yeah, it's good to see those kinds of guys win that. He's a trooper. It's inspirational to watch that guy win that. It really is. Especially when you got somebody like Jason Day chasing you down and Henrik Stenson. Those are two well-known names in golf. And to have those guys chase you down, you got something in the bag for them. But yeah, good weekend of golf. I actually watched that. Took a little nap in between there. Golf can get boring to watch, but it's pretty cool. It's really got me. It's got me glued right now. They're gearing up for the FedEx playoffs, where the $10 million will get paid off at the end of the championship. So it'll be interesting to see coming down the stretch how they finish. I think Henrik Stenson's definitely a favorite to win that. He's playing the best right now, but the way Jason Day seems to be picking up momentum, I don't know if you can close your eyes on him. Those two, I think, are the ones that I think it's between. You got a couple of other guys playing well, but it's really those two. Mickelson could surprise you, but we'll see. He could have shown better yesterday.
For you, like being somebody who is in the pursuit of the golfing situation that you're in, do you think about that, like putting yourself in those positions of what you would do as you're watching this stuff? Like,
well, here's the thing with playing in the circuit that I have played. Yes, it's amateur golf, but to me, I've had tournaments hinge on putts already, on a putt or being able to execute the hole from start to finish. The Vegas one. You always hear me refer to the Vegas if you ever talk to me about golf, because that was easily going to be my biggest win unless I'm able to win something in a championship flight, because there were 48 guys. I don't remember maybe you remember. There were 48 guys in there.
I know it was somewhere around 50.
Yeah, and I was in the lead after the first day, I believe, by 1 or 2 shots. I don't remember. And ironically, it wasn't even the guy that was playing. The 2 guys that were playing with me, it wasn't even them 2 that I really had to worry about. There was another guy who almost chased me down from 9 shots back.
Right.
Who had a phenomenal day the last day. But again, it was about playing consistent and understanding. When I went into 18, I had a 1-shot lead, and I knew, okay, I just need to keep the ball in the fairway, and I need to get it close to the green on the second. I wasn't thinking to hit the green. So, again, it's a situation where, okay, I put the driver in my hands. I have to remember, don't over-grip it and don't overswing, because I'm nervous. I am nervous. If I pull it left, I could potentially put it in a desert. If I push it right, it could end up in the trees, and I could end up having to take a drop. So there's things going through your head. Again, there's not hinging on that like there was on, like, let's say Jimmy Walker's. I mean, we're not talking about a $3 million payday and a 2-year exemption. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, although you can't simulate that situation necessarily, like in the moment, as far as like the pressure of that moment because of situations like that, where there is all that money riding on that, and it's open doors for guys like that. But I know with me, like, if I had a choice, if I could play basketball as my job and spend time in the weight room training, watching film, getting shots up, and doing that every day, and doing what it takes to grind that out for 82 games in a season and however many if you make the playoffs, I know that I would do that. And I know that you feel the same way about golf. That if you could spend that kind of time on golf, like you would, right? So when I watch games, like, and you've seen me do this, when we watch games, and obviously our team is the Celtics, there's been times in games where the game's on the line at the end and there's a timeout, and I'm calling what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Or this is what I think they're going to do, or who they're going to look for. And then it happens.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you look at me kind of like, have you been paying that much attention to it? And it's like, I just kind of put myself in that situation of what I'm watching and let my coaching IQ and instincts take over from watching a game.
Yeah.
I do it all the damn time when I'm watching those programs. You've done it too. You've picked that up over the years. Although basketball is not your first sport, you've done it too when we've gone and watched the games in person and on TV when you're like, fuck, that was traveling. Yeah. Every time this guy, it's like they all fucking travel if you watch it close enough.
Yeah.
Or, hey, that guy didn't box out. That was a problem. Like, you see those things too. Is that enhanced or heightened when you watch golf?
Yes. Yes.
We've talked about that before, and how I watch a shot mechanic when somebody's shooting. I can watch their hands, their feet, their placement of their hands on the ball, where their thumbs are at. I can tell by watching somebody shoot, for the most part, I'm no expert, but for the most part, I can tell you why they missed when they missed, or why it went in if their form wasn't correct. And for me, a lot of times watching stuff like that or watching a play or things develop, it's weird to say, but like I'm assuming that it kind of fits into the theory of relativity, that it's relative to me that it seems slow motion.
Yeah.
Because my mind is firing all these things that I'm seeing straight to my brain and telling me what I'm seeing. So it seems slow motion to me while the game is happening in real time or while somebody's shooting in real time. I've asked you this too. When you watch somebody swing, whether it's one of the kids you coach or it's another player that you're grouped with or on TV, you see those small things, that, like from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, like, and it's weird because to me that golf swing is a whole lot damn faster than watching somebody shoot a basketball. So and it's a millimeter here, a quarter turn there. It's a difference in a swing where the gap in what's wrong to somebody who's not looking for it in basketball seems much bigger. But in basketball, like, there's mistakes that are made, but it's like, oh, I saw that your hand was there, or oh, your fingers were there. Where in golf, like, it's the tiniest movement that makes a difference. And I helped you coach for the past 2 years. I couldn't see it to save my damn life.
When the new group of girls that I have right now, it's funny because I'm having to go back to something I haven't had to do in a few years, which is teach new golfers how to swing again, how to hold a club, what kind of tension to have. And what's funny is, like, today I was like, okay, don't hold it this tight, loosen it. One of my favorite phrases when I'm teaching someone new.
Is it all the hips?
No. Oh. Good one to watch, not a good one to do. I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, yeah, I understand that. It was a movie reference. People relax.
There's in the movie The Greatest Game Ever Played, there's a reference to when what's the golfer's name? I wish I could think of his name. Harry Vardon was teaching one of the little kids in like a little, I don't want to say it was a fair, but it was like a demo, right? And the little kid comes up and he can't hit the ball. And it's Shia LaBeouf. He's a kid in that one. And when he's trying to teach him how to hold the club, he said, you only need, what you're holding is a live bird. You don't need to grab it tight. You only need to keep it from escaping. That's like my favorite line to teach grip pressure, because people would understand, okay, I don't want to kill the bird, but I got to hold on to it. So I actually used that line today with one of the girls. And she's like, but that doesn't make sense. I said, you don't want to kill the bird. You just want to keep it in your hands, keep it from flying away. So she grabs a hold of the club, and I twist the club in her hand. I'm like, okay, that's perfect. Now I want you to swing, but not hard, because I don't want it to come flying out of your hands just yet. And she's like, okay. Nice, easy swing, and she makes perfect contact. And I said, and that's what this is that's it. She goes, but that's easy. I said, you're making it difficult by overthinking it, by thinking there should be more. This is all I want you to do. When you can do this 50 times in a row without any change in where the ball goes, then you're okay. So you were talking about seeing the small things. It isn't to me with golf. And with basketball, it's getting easier because the longer I do it, the more I start to see. So one of the things to me, and I've been told this by parents and kids that I used to coach who are older now, one of the things with me is I'm real good at teaching the fundamental aspects of whatever I'm coaching, whether it's basketball or golf, or it was football for a little bit, or baseball or softball, whatever it was, the fundamental breakdown I was real good at explaining. So I could take something that was that gets explained real complicated and break it down into layman's terms, and so anybody could understand it. Having said that, the golf swing, because I took so much time to study it for 2 to 3 years, it is slow to me. When I'm watching these girls right now swing, I'm seeing things that are frustrating to me because I just got done with a group of girls who had been doing it for 4 years and didn't have those little flaws again. So I'm having to reprogram my brain to say, okay, look, that's not an intentional thing, that's a growth thing. We need to correct it at a entry level, not at an advanced level. So
so my question is this: how does, not counting like looking at a swing, but when you're playing, when we coach somewhat. Well, I mean, us coaching together now for this is going to be our
fifth year
overall.
Yeah.
4th year with the high school. That you kind of have an idea of how my mind works, and not necessarily where I'm at mentally, but how the gears work.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking ahead or what I'm looking at means that I'm looking for something different than probably what you're looking at. So when we like, for the example, I guess would be when we're coaching at a basketball game, and I've seen 3 or 4 possessions, and then there's a timeout called when we do something, we call somebody different, and they're making an adjustment. There's been more than a handful of times where I've told you what the adjustment's going to be and what we need to do to counter that, and it worked.
Yes.
You know, where we've seen that. Is that your mind frame when you're playing at like shot to shot? Are you thinking 2 and 3 shots ahead, or are you taking it, having to clear your mind 1 shot at a time?
Yeah,
and going there.
With golf, it's different because if you don't keep your mind in the present, you'll lose track of emotions will attach themselves to you. And the thing with with me and basketball, if I'm pissed off, I can grab the ball in the block and throw a shoulder or an elbow or lower myself and go hard and create contact, and all of a sudden it's gone. If I try to exert myself in golf, it's all bad. It goes bad real quick. And the slightest excess tension, even in your fingers, can cause something to go wrong. You're talking about a millimeter, how you were saying that, a millimeter, an inch. Man, I'll tell you what, if my right hand grips the club just slightly more than the left hand and I'm doing a real short shot, man, I could pull that ball hard to the left because my right hand doesn't release. Or if I grip it too hard on my left hand, it never quite closes, and now I push the ball hard the other way.
Right.
I mean, I have to keep my mind on what's going on here and now. Okay, take a breath, relax, and go. If I'm thinking 2 shots down the road, I might not even get close to what I'm aiming at on a golf course, you know? Especially since we're going multiple shots, you know?
Right.
Within possession, and then, like, to me, basketball is more a game. I don't want to say more a game, but it's a game of momentum, too. You know, just because you missed 1 shot does not mean you cannot come back down and have a good defensive stand and turn around and get your shot back.
Right.
In golf, when you give up 1, you may never see that one again.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a few years, played in a club championship a few years back. I was in the lead after the first day by 2 shots. And I shot, I want to say it was like 3 over par the second day. And I lost. And I didn't shoot a lot better than 3 over par back then. You know, it just wasn't. That was one of, if not my best score to date. And I lost. And I'm sitting there trying to figure out how I lost. Well, I gave up 2 shots early and then 1 late. Or did I? So I started looking at the card and I'm like, what could I have possibly done here? Where did my plan? Something had to have gone wrong. It didn't. The guy just beat me 3 holes. He beat me.
Just outplayed.
And that's it was. Not even really, I wouldn't say outplayed me. There was nothing I could have done.
This is where I find golf interesting, that it's a competition, but it's more so a competition with yourself than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
That when you look at team sports, obviously it's like you're trying to do that, but from an individual standpoint, you, like I said, you're pushing things ahead. You're moving farther where you look, and if you're a coach, you see this with your players of, oh, we could have got this back by doing this here. We've always said that, especially in close games, that a game is not decided or hinging on one play
on that last
here
play,
or there. It's always an accumulation of a game where you could have, like you said, you could have made up ground here, or you could have came back and got something there. In golf, I find it interesting how much it's driven as such a competitive sport against others in a whole field of, like you said, 50, 60 people after a cut, when the reality of that is the only person that the competition is really against is you.
Yeah.
Because the example you just gave was not that guy stood next to you the entire way and just hit better shots than you and outplayed you as if he was playing you straight up. He focused on his own game.
Yeah.
And just played a better game against himself.
Yeah, and like I said, when I went back and I looked and I said, okay, where did he beat me? And I found the 3 holes were on individuals. He beat me 3 individual scores. And I'm looking at it and I said, wait a minute, man, these are 3 pars and these are unusual. You know, so I'm looking, what did I do here? There was nothing I could have done to change that outcome because I had done everything I could to that point. There was nothing to do. Every bit of my ability was used on that hole. It was a great drive. It was a great second shot.
How many times have you said that? You've used all of your ability on that hole.
4 times. 3 times.
3. I was just saying, you have a better percentage than most. I'm not going to say than all, but most.
So, yeah, no, definitely. It's you definitely got to live more in the moment with golf. You got to focus on what's going on now. There's so much information to gather. You know, when you're running down a basketball court, and we've played together many times already. When you're running down a basketball court, once you make your decision to take the lane, you're really just focusing on the lane and not what's in between you and there. Because if you start looking at everywhere else, you could travel, you could double dribble,
You lose the
you
ball,
lose
yeah.
the ball. There's so many things that can happen if you're not just focused on the backboard. It's the same thing with. It's almost the same thing with golf, but at the same time, there's
Well, it's
more
the same
variables.
thing with shooting. If you're watching the defender's hand, or if you're watching the ball go through the air and you're not focused on your target, then you have no perception of
Yeah.
how far or how much power you need to have to create that bucket.
Yeah, and with golf, man, when I'm lining up a putt, and this is advanced golf thinking, this is not basic golf. Most people will go, "What are you even talking about?" Man, I have to consider where the sun is. What kind of green am I on? Am I on a
Oh,
Bermuda
we've talked
green?
about this
Am I-
before,
Yeah,
like
there's
where you are, like on the flag in ratio to like how it slopes
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Like, does it? And it's confusing as shit because there's been times where you and I have been standing on a green getting ready to putt, where we've played around together, and you go, "Don't forget it pulls this way," and I'm like, "No, it doesn't. I'm looking right at the ground. It goes," and you're like, "I'm telling you, it doesn't go that way because it'll come back around this direction. You think that it goes that way because of what your eyes are telling your mind, but you're not there. I'm telling you, it goes the other way."
There's a lot of information to gather, yeah. And that's why like I said with Jimmy Walker this weekend, watching him putt from 3 feet and in was almost ridiculous. He just didn't miss. And everything was dead center. That birdie putt he made on 17, what made it so big was not that he made it, it was that it was still close to the hole. It was close enough to the hole to drop in. And that's what he needed. You know, when you're playing good, even your misses are going to find a way in. I've always told people, you've heard me say this, I'd rather be lucky than good on a golf course.
Yeah.
You know, if you're good, you're going to play good all the time, but you need to be lucky to win those big ones. And Jimmy Walker definitely had some luck on his side this weekend, you know. So, man, that's a full episode.
Yeah.
A whole lot of BS. We no comments on Instagram this week?
No. Listener number 12 kept quiet this week. If you guys have questions or comments, feel free to leave them on the YouTube channel. In the comments section, we're at Totally Unprofessional Podcast, or you can find us on Instagram. If you're listening to us on Podbean or YouTube, you can find us on Instagram at Totally_Unprofessional. Our link to Podbean, if you don't want to watch or listen to the podcast on YouTube, Podbean, you can download it or you can listen to it and stop and go anytime you want without having to worry about using your battery on your screen being lit up and all that good business. The link's in our bio right there at the top where it gives you our information, gives you our name, has the picture with the purple writing and gray writing in the black background, says Totally Unprofessional Podcast, gives you our link, you just click it, it takes you straight there. If you have any comments on topics you want to hear us talk about, feel free to let us know. We have no problem. Anytime there's been questions or comments left, we'll shout you out on here, and we'll try to answer it or give our opinions as openly and honest as possible.
Yeah. So don't be afraid. Interact.
Yeah, for some of you who claim that you're subscribers and listeners, and I don't want to point any fingers, but not the people that I work with, speak up. Don't just sit there and say, "Hey, we listen to your podcast." Like I've said, this podcast is about us just, bullshitting and talking back and forth about things that we find interesting and sport, mainly sports driven, but things that we can pick each other's brain and opinions about from 2 different age levels. And if you could think that, hey, you know what, I'd like to hear them talk about this stuff because that's the conversation I would have with my friends, then that's the goal we're trying to reach. That you'd want to hang out and talk with us like this, or that you and your friends already do talk like this.
Found a new presidential candidate, just real quick.
Okay.
Gary Johnson, Libertarian, old New Mexico governor.
Okay.
I saw the funniest meme, and this presidential election is all about the memes. We all know that. Okay. So everybody knows that there's the left and the right. Okay. The Republicans and the Democrats, right? So this guy's motto on his Twitter page is, "Why choose the left nut or the right nut when you can hold the Johnson?"
There's a winner
That's
there.
on his Twitter page. I would vote for that guy just for
based on
having that.
Yep, just
Just
based
for
on
having
that.
that. Trump used to get all the play just because he would speak his mind, but he ain't got the Johnson.
That's true.
So
That's true.
that's a shout out to my boy Chris down in LA. I believe he's at Huntington Beach now. Or no, he's working in the Transmit. I don't know. He's somewhere down south.
He's somewhere else.
It's somewhere down. But he put that up, and I couldn't stop laughing. Did some research on this guy. He's a pretty good guy. I don't think I'll be voting for Trump. I'll probably be voting for this guy. But yeah, if you see that meme out there, maybe I can. We'll look for it, and I'll have Justin put it up on Instagram. It is an awesome one, best one of the season so far. So, anyways,
And just remember, if you don't have any preference on who you want to vote for, you can always write somebody in. Jim Beam Johnny Walker, whoever you feel.
No,
like.
we're voting for what was that? What's Fluffy's manager's name?
I don't know.
Hey, Manuel, what's Fluffy's manager's name? Who are we voting for president? Martin.
Oh,
Martin for president. That's a shout out for Martin, Fluffy's boy.
There you go.
Gabriel Iglesias, best friend, manager, assistant. I don't know what he is, but Martin for president. That's a shout out for that guy.
There you go. Let's see what we got this week. More training camp this week.
Yeah.
And if MLB trade deadline was today,
A lot of movement everywhere.
If you're a Dodgers fan, your homeboy Yasiel Puig just got demoted to AAA today. Didn't make the trip to Colorado. Red Sox picked up some bullpen help from Minnesota.
Giants made a couple moves too.
They made a couple moves as well. Yankees traded away Carlos Beltran, who's 38 or 39, and he's hammering out hits and home runs left and right. They sent him to Texas, which for the Yankees, they're finally starting to understand that they have to build a team.
Yeah, can't just buy it.
But the Red Sox they do have a dog in the race as far as the AL East goes, and they're right in the middle of the wild card race. So it'll be interesting. So this week, baseball is going to be stuff to look forward to as far as the
now football actually starts Sunday.
It does. This upcoming
Preseason,
Sunday,
yeah.
It's the Colts and the Packers.
Hall of Fame.
Yes, Hall of Fame game. Obviously, football is back, but for me, I love sports in general, and football is a thing, but I have a hard time watching preseason outside of the first quarter.
Actually, this is the time where you start, if you're a gambler, you start doing your research on college.
Yeah.
Because college...
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
College football will be underway here shortly,
Yeah.
too. Not too long before the NFL. Go Ducks. I'm an Oregon Duck fan.
He didn't say that before 5 years ago.
Oh, here we go. This guy.
But yeah, so we got some stuff coming up this
Hey,
week.
when you do as many push-ups as that duck, then you can tell me shit, all right?
Yeah, they got one of those ROTC guys.
And JROTC.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, they got one of those guys doing those push-ups because there's no way in hell some mortal guy's gonna do that many.
Hey, say what you want, bro, but that duck's out there doing those push-ups after every touchdown.
Yep, and he does it for every point scored.
Yep.
That's funny.
I bet you when he takes that duck mascot uniform off, that he gets tons of ducktail.
Ducktail. That's awesome.
Anyway,
Yeah.
this has been episode 27. We'll see you guys Friday. I'm Justin.
Emmanuel.
And we've been Totally Unprofessional.